Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology, and today we are going to look at the new moon in Libra, which is opposite Jupiter in Aries. And specifically, we are going to take it through the 12 whole sign houses and give you some horoscopes based on your sun or rising sign. To me, this is an important one to take through the signs because it's a very powerful new moon, given that it's configured so closely to Jupiter by an opposition. So we're going to look at the whole sign house of Libra for all 12 rising signs and get a feel for where that topical focus might land for the moon cycle ahead. So before we get into that, I will say a few words at the outset, by the way. I will say a few words about the new moon overall. So be sure that you don't just jump right ahead to your sign, but listen to the initial comments about the moon cycle and then jump to your sign. You'll find the chapter breaks below if you want to do that, of course, as well. In the meantime, please don't forget to like and subscribe, share a few comments or stories. All of that really helps people to, it picks, the algorithm likes it when people comment or whatever. So I really appreciate it when you do that. Plus, I really like to collect your stories. If you ever have one to share about the moon cycle, you can come back and share it. Or if you've got one that's cooking right now, use the hashtag grabbed at nightlightastrology.com. The storytelling episodes, we did one this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So be sure to share a story if you've got one. You could always find a transcript of any of my daily talks on my website, nightlightastrology.com, where I will point you to right now so that you can sign up for my new class, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. If you go to my website, Nightlight Astrology, and on the courses page, click on the first year course. Enrollments are in the spring and fall, so this is autumn enrollment. November 12th, classes start. They meet 30 times across the course of a year. They're 2 to 3 hours each on Saturdays from noon to about 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. You can learn everything you need to know about the course on this page. This is my magnum opus. The courses that I create, I pour all of my most detailed, high-level information into. And so my goal is to make astrology accessible and affordable and to be a part of training a new generation of astrologers to keep carrying the torch, hopefully far into the future. So check it out. If you have any questions about the course, it is chock full of content. There's staff tutors in a discussion forum, breakout study sessions in between major units, guest lectures, tons of bonus material. So check it out. If you have, again, any questions, you can email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. Check out the early bird payment. You can save $500 off. There's a payment plan. If you want to spread the tuition over the course of 12 months, if that's a little bit easier for you, use the payment plan. Otherwise, we also have need-based tuition. This is a hallmark of my programs. I've been doing it for 12 years, going on 13. We always offer a sliding scale for people who are in, a financial place of need, or you're just like, I'm on a really tight budget and I would love to study astrology, but, I have to work within my budget. I can't afford to go into debt. I don't have credit cards or, whatever the case might be. We understand that everyone's situation is different, that times are really tough for a lot of people right now. So if that is helpful, please take advantage of it. We ask that people sign up for that early on because we're trying to avoid, we tend to get a huge wave of those applications the last week. It's like people wait for the last minute. So we're really trying to get people to sign up early if they're going to use the need-based tuition so we can process your registration and get you set up. All right, well, that's what I've got for announcements. Let's get into the new moon. And what we're going to do is, first of all, let's just refresh. This new moon comes in on September 25th. It is happening over the weekend, so we're prepping for it here over the weekend. I'm also visiting one of my former students. His name's Spencer Michaud. He also came on and did some work with me on the astrology of the NFL season. If you guys saw that fun extra bonus podcast we did. He has some a podcast that he does as well, and I'm going on his program today, Friday, to discuss that as well. So if you check out his Instagram, you could find me talking with him about the new moon ahead in a much more broad kind of archetypal sense. Today, we're going to do horoscopes, but I want to say a few words about this new moon first. So I'm going to use the real-time clock to do that for starters. Let's just take a few notes here. Notice that the new moon is in Libra. Notice that this new moon in Libra is opposite Jupiter. Jupiter in the sign of Aries. This is very powerful configuration for a moon cycle. We're talking about the Libra-Aries axis, a new moon, a new beginning, marked by the oppositional tension of Jupiter in the fiery sign of Mars. So, a few things to say. One is that we are probably dealing with a kind of ideological or philosophical tension within us. We're at a crossroads. We're trying to make a decision. We've got an impulse that we're trying to follow, but we're also trying to be democratic, diplomatic. We're being careful of making the rash or impulsive or hasty reactive decision. But at the same time, you don't want to be so diplomatic and so careful that you don't act when you need to, which is a very Jupiter and Aries kind of thing. This could play out in work, in relationships, in your inner journey, philosophically or spiritually. But you're going to notice that this cycle is being galvanized by the feeling that you are at a crossroads and that there's a kind of diplomatic knot that you're trying to untangle. You could notice that, again, within yourself or within, the work sphere or your relationships or anything. But it's a kind of crossroads that we're at, and it marks the beginning of the moon cycle. So with that tension in mind, what I want to do next is take this and look at the placement of the house of Libra. That's where the new moon is at. And so, well, you're going to be feeling the same kind of tension for everyone that I just mentioned. You can get a sense of what it's rooted in by looking at the whole sign house that new moon is taking place in. So let's start off by looking at Aries, sun, or rising signs. If you like to listen to your Aries, sun, or rising horoscope, this would be applicable to you. I always recommend the rising because that's the one that's going to be actually configured to your chart, unless you have the sun in the first house, in which case your sun and rising sign are the same. I always like the rising sign because it's the same map as your whole sign birth chart. So the transits are actually heading through the same houses. So if you are an Aries, sun, or rising, you've got this new moon landing in your 7th house of relationships. So it is the quintessential push and pull between independence and dependence, self-centeredness and other-centeredness, or the we versus the me. You're going to be feeling that tension in a big way in the house of relationships this month. So that's where I would look for the tension to be rising up as the cycle progresses, especially by the full moon, which will also come through in Aries. All right, so that's your Aries sun rising focus. So just look and watch for this moon cycle to be focused on the place of relationships. Now, if you are a Taurus, sun or rising, we're now taking this and we're placing the new moon in the 6th house. You've got the same oppositional tension from Jupiter, but in this one, I would be looking at what kinds of sacrifices or compromises you are feeling like you have to make right now. The 6th house was a place of martyrs and hard work, but often in service to something, like blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifice are themes of the 6th house, as well as conflict and conflict resolution in the case of Libra being in the 6th house. One question we might ask is, what kinds of conflicts are you trying to resolve within yourself or with people that you work with? Kind of a 6th house topic, maybe people that you employ. And how are you trying to reach some kind of deal or negotiation? And be careful of the potential for like ideological conflict opposite Jupiter and Aries, right? Between yourself and others right now, and not being sure who you can trust or what you can trust or what's real. That may last a little bit, so give it some time. I would be very careful as a Taurus sun or rising with the 6th house signature of making quick or hasty decisions in any direction. Quick to make peace and not sure if you like the compromise totally, or quick to do something rash and more independent, but not sure, who you might piss off in the process. Give yourself some space to think through it. All right, let's look at Gemini sun or rising. So with Gemini sun or rising, we're now taking this signature of the new moon and we're moving it into the 5th house. Now, the 5th house is a place of joy and happiness. It's a place of recreation, leisure, romance, procreation, children, pregnancy. The 5th house was called the joy of Venus and the house of good fortune. I really like a new moon in this house for you. It seems like something good, joyful, pleasant, pleasing, creatively satisfying could be growing or developing. However, it might be in some kind of very intense dialogue with Jupiter in the house of, groups, your social circles, other people's demands or expectations, questions about alliances or allegiances or friendships, and where to go it alone versus where to rely on or ask for help from others. Could be about changes in relationships due to the need for greater happiness or freedom. So those are the kinds of things that I would watch for. You could get pregnant with this transit too. That's definitely a possibility. All right, let's look at Cancer sun and rising. So if we put Cancer on the ascendant, we're looking now at the new moon here, and I'm going to actually take the Cancer sun rising thing down so I can actually show this to you. So Cancer sun rising, the new moon is in the 4th house, home and family. This is the place of family members, of home and property, of parents. And there's a kind of crossroads here. It's a crossroads where you might be asking if I should bury the hatchet and make peace with regard to someone, possibly parents, mother, father. Could be the mark of a new era in your life because you're moving or relocating. It could be a sign that there's something new you're doing literally in your home, or that your living environment is changing because you're going to get a roommate. I would also look at questions about peace and striking the right balance among family relationships, and also the tension between the stands that you need to take as an individual in the world for the sake of your own personal path, and those requirements or the balancing act with the needs of family or home or your private life. Those things stand out to me because you've got the new moon in the 4th house, family home, but it's opposite Jupiter in Aries in the 10th. So those are the things to watch for, in my view, if you're a Cancer. We're just doing the kind of sticking to the big stuff here just to make sure that everyone is prepped for this new moon. Now, you've got the new moon. If you're a Leo rising, you have the new moon in the 3rd house. You can kind of see it peeking up there. I'll take this down in a second. So the 3rd house would be, for Leos, would say something about the mind. And with the opposition to Jupiter in the 9th house, for Leos, this feels like it's philosophical. It has something to do with your thought process, or stating or declaring your beliefs, or how your beliefs are being worked out in the context of relationships with other people. It has to do with communication. Maybe there's some focus on siblings in the 3rd house, or your local environment or neighborhood, whether that's your the local environment being like mood, mind, atmospheres, or literally your neighborhood. There could be something shifting there. But I also look at this and think, okay, there's a little bit of you could almost see yourself getting in a yelling match with someone about political differences. You could almost see yourself wondering if you should take a stand, and if so, what is the most loving but principled way of taking some kind of stand. This could be a time where you're deciding to return to school, or that you want to study something. So I would watch for education, the mind, the environment of your beliefs, or the environment and your beliefs, and how they're influencing or impacting the environment, or how other people's beliefs are impacting your own mind and environment. Those kinds of things seem like they're just right in the spotlight for my Leo risings. All right, let's go to Virgo sun and Virgo risings. We'll put Virgo on the ascendant. This brings the new moon into your 2nd house, place of money, resources, time, energy, money, income, and expenditures. You see it with opposite Jupiter in the 8th house, and you wonder about the independence versus dependence dynamic of Libra Aries, but when it comes to, say, money. So Libra, I like the new moon in the 2nd house, almost like there's something new cooking around business, financial opportunities or investments, new investments or purchases that are important. Could even just be buying some clothes with Venus in your 1st house right now. The idea, though, that you're developing a new aesthetic, or that you want your new values to be reflected in new items or purchases, that comes to mind. The other thing here would be debts and obligations to other people, and the need to be free of them, or joining with other people in some kind of venture or activity in business, or for the sake of developing skills that are profitable or lucrative, or something like that. So to me, it's all about business and resources, though, for the Virgos out there. All right, let's push it forward. New opportunities around business and money that are sort of starting to develop or blossom. And that follows, by the way, for Virgos, with the signature of Mercury having recently been retrograde in your 2nd house as well. All right, well, Libra sun, Libra rising. The new moon is in your 1st house. That usually corresponds with some sense of emerging psychology. It's like a piece of you that's trying to express itself or find integration in your daily life. It's a part of your personality that is seeking expression in the world, or in your job or relationship. In this case, I could see it expressing needing to find place in the relationship, specifically because of the opposition the new moon has to Jupiter in the 7th house of marriage and relationships. But whatever the case might be, the focus of the new moon is going to be on you, your body, your health, your identity, your psychology, individuating, becoming more of yourself, tuning into who you are and what feels real or right to you. It's pretty existential at the moment. And it's amplified by Jupiter pushing the buttons from the house of relationships. Sometimes you might see some kinds of changes related to your health or your body or your physique or your wardrobe. 1st house things can be very kind of mundane, just like about your appearance in the world. Other times they're quite deep and psychological. But either way, it'll probably be related to what are the demands or expectations of other people, or how am I relating to other people in the changes I'm trying to make. Yeah, I would watch for maybe some tension or conflicts in relationships too. All right, so let's go to Scorpio, Sun, and Rising. Putting Scorpio on the ascendant, we have the new moon in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house new moon is really interesting to me because 12th house new moon in a Venus ruled sign, while Venus is in her fall in the 11th house, I would watch for disappointment or hurt in relationships, probably more like colleagues, friends, groups, allies, public, professional circles, for there to be some shifts and changes. And to me, this would be a great cycle to, kind of wake up to the truth about other people. Well, here's some really great people that I've really overlooked, and maybe I've even taken advantage of, and now it's time to, stop doing that. On the other hand, there's some people that are in my life that really aren't that good for me. I would look at those kinds of things very carefully if you're a Scorpio, though I would also be careful of paranoia, gossip, deceit, or deception, love triangles with Libra in the 12th. That stuff comes to mind as a potential shadow right now. But also principled conflicts with the opposition to Jupiter in Aries in the 6th. You see the same theme I was mentioning earlier when we put the Aries Libra axis across the 3rd and the 9th house. Kind of the idea here across the 12th and the 6th in similarly cadent houses would be that unconscious beliefs or ideas are influencing arising conflicts in relationships, and it may cause us to look at our paradigms or our thoughts or the way we communicate or something like that. That's for your Scorpio Sun and Risings out there. All right, let's go to Sagittarius. If you're a Sagittarius Sun or rising sign, we are taking this new moon and we're putting it into the 11th house. So the 11th house being a place of groups, friends, allies, you get the feeling here of something new growing around the people you work with, or around groups that you belong to, whether they're religious or professional or academic, or just social. That there's someone or something new coming into your life right now, maybe a new ally or a new resource that's coming in. Sometimes the 11th house new moon also suggests the formation of a new desire, usually one that's related to achievement or accomplishment, professionally or publicly. It's like a seed that's starting to plant itself, something you want to do or accomplish. It's going to take a while, but it's starting to grow there. You have the assistance, in a sense, of Jupiter in a good house, but there's also some tension, like wanting to do things too quickly or wanting to go it alone when you could really use some help, or seeking advice from someone else versus being, kind of stubborn and thinking, well, I'm perfect. I do everything right. I'm going to do it my own way. I would watch for those kinds of tensions, especially related to some kind of new endeavor or some shift in the social fabric of your life that has you excited about the future. And I would just be a little bit careful of getting cocksure and not being aware of how deeply you may need to rely on others in order to get something done. Now, we also have to accept, if you're Sag, you may have to accept other people's shortcomings. This new moon is disposed of by Venus in her fall in the 10th house, while Mars is also in Gemini in the 7th. So it's like something new is growing, and I might have to just accept that there's some elements about this new idea or desire or this new path or something that are not ideal. They're not perfect. I may have to deal with or make compromises because there's some imperfect people, or there's some blemishes. And I think that would be really par for the course for this new moon if you're a Sag, which can, it's like if you're a Sag, you ride high on things, and so sometimes you're easily deflated. So don't get easily deflated. You may have to just accept some blemishes this month. All right, well, Capricorn rising. So if you're a Capricorn rising, we're putting this into the 10th house, the place of career and accomplishment. A new moon in that house, opposite Jupiter in the 4th. Feels like a new job, new house, new job, having a baby, new job, getting married. I wouldn't be surprised to see like the busyness of, this kind of new era in life where you're taking on a new role, or you're moving houses, or, kind of like the private and public spheres of life are both sort of popping at the same time. Otherwise, I would say anything new developing around your professional identity, your sense of long-term direction or focus professionally, vocational skills and development of new skills or ideas professionally, something about the workplace changing. That seems to be the focus, but being polarized a bit by Jupiter and Aries down in the fourth house, which, again, impatient there might be competing tensions or needs or drama around home or family that's somehow contributing to the dynamism of the new moon in the 10th house. So that's what I would look for. All right, if you are an Aquarius sun or rising, let's take it forward again. So this one, if you're an Aquarius sun or rising sign, falls into your 9th house, the place of higher wisdom and truth. With opposite Jupiter in the 3rd, just like Leo rising, to me, this one has a lot to do with emerging or developing or changing beliefs or thoughts or thought structures, starting a new program, finding a teacher, or maybe mentoring someone else or teaching something, spiritual and religious shifts that are of deeper importance, but also the tension of different kinds of beliefs or ideas that are conflicting within you or within key places in your life right now. That's what I would look for across the 3rd and the 9th house axis, maybe with like a secondary theme of travel coming up. Both houses have to do a lot. Both houses are frequently related to travel. All right, let's go to Pisces on the ascendant. So with Pisces on the ascendant, we are looking at the new moon forming in your 8th house. The new moon in the 8th house opposite Jupiter in the 2nd, to me, feels like a new deal. It feels to me like a joining of assets or resources. It feels like, trying to figure out how to merge your finances with someone else when you get married. It feels like paying off old debts, wanting to be free from debts and wanting to be independent and not feeling like you owe anything to anybody or that you are financially self-sufficient, but this is a cycle within which you're still having to deal with old obligations. Either that or you're finding meaningful new partnerships of some kind where a combination of assets and resources are part of what's showing up. So I would look for, the development of themes of teamwork when it comes to resources professionally or financially or something like that. Also, maybe conflicts around money, debts, resources, business strategies, opposing ideas about business and money. You could see coming up a little bit as well. I like this transit though, because the new moon in the 8th in a Venus ruled sign with Venus leaving her fall and about to enter Libra in the 8th house feels to me like making peace or finding a peaceful way of, working together with someone, or even someone paying their fair due or recognizing that they need to play their role, or finding a natural reciprocity with someone or something. So those are your horoscopes. I hope that gives you guys plenty to think about and to start meditating on as the moon cycle is unfolding here this weekend. Remember that this moon cycle opposite Jupiter is a very dynamic one, but the idea of this opposition, remember Mercury retrograde has been hitting this opposition. There is a crossroads, and the crossroads is both relational, but it feels philosophical. It's like there's two different ways or different approaches or different ideas about how to see things. No, I'm socially responsible. I'm socially aware. I'm in a social matrix, and I have to balance everything in the way that I choose. Jupiter in Aries, I'll go it alone. It couldn't be more different in a sense. And the idea of an opposition is that it's easy to split onto one side or the other. And it's not that you need some kind of perfect balance as much as it is that we're learning to hold the tension. Where does the tension originate? Where the new moon lands here. So look at that house of Libra. That's why we just went through everything that we went through. All right. Well, use the hashtag grabbed if you want to share a story about this new moon cycle or how you're already seeing it show up over the weekend. I would love to hear from you guys. You can check out the new class, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, on my website, nightlightastrology.com. It begins on November 12th. I would love to see some of you in class coming up soon. Excited for the new enrollment season. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share a comment when you watch the videos. It always helps the channel to grow. All right, that's what I've got. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take it easy. Bye.